Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. Around 2020, the sickness hit. And, being locked up, all you get to see is the world through a screen. I don't care if it's a 24-inch or 36-inch or whatever. I don't think it got any bigger than that. But you're watching the world through a screen, and the information you're getting is just what the people decide to report to you. So, the last time that there was a major incident in America was during the 9/11. And I told you I was in Lompoc. I was locked up in the SHU, and it was in the early morning hours or whatever, or even during the day. But I'm sleeping, so I'm in and out of sleep, and it just seems surreal to me. I just see the commotion, seeing the doors, hearing the doors unlock, hearing people, the COs running down the walkway and down the stairs, and it's just a lot of commotion. And everybody hearing, they just blew up the second tower, and you're like, what? What's going on? Like, they really blew up the tower in America? Somebody bombed America? And, airplane crashed into the tower? It doesn't seem real because, stuff like that really don't happen in America. But if you guys are watching the news right now and seeing what's going down in the Middle East with Israel and Palestine, they're ready to march into the Gaza Strip. And you see footage of that place, it looks just rubbles, buildings blown up, a lot of bodies. They say it's up to like 9,000 people dead right now, and it's crazy. But I'm out here able to watching it, able to, surf through the news clip and see what's really going on and what's not going on. But being in there, you're just like, can the world be so chaotic like this? Can this shit really be real, So around 2020, when that sickness hit, we're watching the news, and on CNN, they got the tickers going, like, all these bodies dropping. They had footage of New York, and then when they implemented the lockdown, for the whole country, you're seeing pictures of the streets in New York empty, like a ghost town. And I don't think there's ever been a photo of New York, outside of that period of time, having the street empty. And there was people that was getting ready to go home, that was out of that way, out of New York and New Jersey, in that area. And just imagine you getting off the bus, just prior, 10 years ago or 20 years ago when you first got locked up. The street was busy, the street was chaotic, traffic everywhere, people walking around everywhere. And then now you're getting off the bus to an empty street, to an empty city. It's gotta feel like the end of the world to you, especially coming from being in a cell, and you're so excited to go back out into the world, and you're like, what the hell? Like, what is this? And the same thing, I had the same apprehension. I'm like, damn, man, I did 20-something years, and what world am I going back to now? Like, because everything you see on the news, maybe it was set up that way to scare you and frighten you to stay in your home, and that this virus was just going to spread and just, decimate the whole population. Like, we had no clue because we're just watching the ticker. At first, we just like, man, this shit's a hoax. This shit ain't real. But then you see all the white tents put up in New York. You see all the bodies being piled up in the, in one of the freezer vans, and then they take you to Italy, where the crematory was going 24 hours, just burning the bodies, and you're just like, what the hell is going on? During the course of my 20-something years, I watched the Iraq War on the screen, but really, like, those things that's happening overseas, even though you get to see it, really doesn't play a role in your life here on a daily life, like, especially for us in a penitentiary, because it doesn't, that's overseas somewhere. So it's not really affecting us. But while we were in Florence during 2020, when they issued the lockdown and all the other craziness, there was people in there that had family members that was out here that had got sick and died. And we're like, like, what the hell? I mean, it's just, like, again, like, I don't want to repeat, what the hell, but that's just the way, my mind was just like, what is really going on out there? Like, and it made you concerned for the people out here. And then one day, our counselor comes in and he's like, hey, we had they called for a meeting where everybody's like, everybody got to come out of your cell into the day room. We all crowded out around the counselor and the staff. And he got up there, he's like, the virus is here. And there's a few people that panic, that like, oh shit, because, there's a lot of people, especially in Florence. Florence was like almost like a chronic care facility. There was a lot of people in wheelchairs, a lot of people with certain illnesses, There's people there with AIDS, hepatitis, people that's got fucked up immune system. And, now everybody was like, it came from the TV screen into our block. So like, we're getting on a lockdown. This is how it's going to be. The first lockdown, they started putting tapes up in the penitentiary where you had to stay 6 feet away from each other. And in the beginning, they were only letting, a couple cells out for 30 minutes at a time to shower and use the phone. But like I said, every time we get locked down, it starts out that way. The first 3 days, there's no showers, there's no phone, you're just locked down in your cell. All we're getting is sack lunches, because now they're not letting us bring food because they don't want nobody touching the food, prepping the food. So everything that we got were sack lunches. But still, somebody's putting the bread and a slab of cheese in there. But when other people came from other facilities, because there were still buses coming in, they were like, nah, man, we were getting like wrapped up food from like catering places and stuff, because they had a lot of, like, they gave the federal government a lot of money, the federal BOP, the federal prisons, a lot of money to contain the virus and make sure that we stay safe and everything stays sanitized. But in Florence, it seemed like the administration took that money, because we didn't get shit. We still stayed on our rotation with 4 pieces of bread, 2 slices of cheese, 2 slices of bologna, and an apple, and maybe a cookie. And that was 3 meals a day. 3 meals a day for the duration that we were locked down in during that sickness. So when they locked down the unit, they started coming every 3 days and started testing people. And whoever tested positive, they took them out and brought them to a quarantine unit. But the quarantine unit, they also put, like, people that came off the bus, they put them in a quarantine unit for, I think, 7 days or something before they let them back into population. But, there were cellies that were testing positive. You stuck in, they're talking about, oh, the stuff stays on the surface for 7 days. It stays in the air for how many hours. You got to be 6 feet away from each other. Well, in the cell, there's nowhere for you to go. You're stuck in there. If your celly's sick, you would think you would get sick, right? But they would test 2 dudes in the cell. One of them would test positive. Another one would test negative. They come in there, putting a little cotton swab up your nose and twisting it and then put it in a sealed bag or whatever. And then they come back 24 hours later and roll up whoever tested positive and move them out. But like I said, I seen, cellies, one would test positive, another one would test negative. So me and my cellie were like, damn, how is that possible? How is somebody testing positive and you're supposed to stay 6 feet away from each other? You're supposed to, they say it stays on the surface for however long. like things just didn't add up, according to what we're seeing in the news and what was happening in real time. But there was this DC dude. Well, I didn't know he was DC. Every hour the CO's got to do their rounds. They got to walk around the unit, look in the cell, and see that everybody's still alive. Well, they go upstairs and they looked into a cell, and all of a sudden, you can hear on the radio, you can hear the radio cracking, blah, blah, blah. I don't know exactly what he was saying, but he was notifying medical staff that there was a man down in the cell. Then all of a sudden, you see all the staff come in with the stretcher and everything, and they run up in the cell, and there were COs that were scared to open that door. And so we're looking, because it's right above, like I said, I lived at about, 113 over there on this side, something. And we're looking upstairs, and we just see all the COs crowding around that cell. And we're like, damn, what's going on up there? Because, you're stuck in the cell. So it's either the cellies got into it, and they fought, and somebody got seriously injured, or the rest. Like, I don't know what's going on. We're just sitting there watching. Then we hear the cell get popped open, and it's just a bunch of bodies because we can't see. The only time I'm able to see them is when they start coming down the stairs. So when they come down the stairs, there's a dude on a stretcher. He's blue. His skin is pale, and he's blue. Like from me looking out of my little window in my cell, I thought it was a white dude. They taking him down the stairs, and his arm is just swinging. He's just swinging. He's coming down, tuk, 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 and his arm is swinging. And I'm like, and they're still, as they're coming down the stairs, they're still trying to, bring him back. Like, they have the little, I don't know what it's called, but the things they put, that they rub together and shock your heart or whatever, and try to, get your heart starting back up. The whole time they were coming out of the cell, they were hitting him with that. Bah! You can just see his arm, swinging. Bah! But when he's coming down the stairs, they got him strapped up to the stretcher, and his arm is just swinging. And I'm like, man, that dude dead. That dude dead, And they come down the stairs, and they're rushing him out of the unit, and all the CO leave. And I'm telling we took turns looking at the window. My cellie came and looked at the window. I'm like, man, that white dude's dead, man. He ain't, And my cellie's like, nah, I ain't a white dude. That's that black dude that just came off the bus. He's a DC dude. He was older. He was probably maybe in his late 50s, early 60s. I'm like, white dude? I said, man, his skin was freaking pale and blue. Like, for me, from where I was looking, it looked like he was white, But, so we're just sitting there in our cell. Me and my cell, we're just like, damn, this shit's for real, Like, because, the whole time, we just been seeing it on CNN and Fox and all the other news outlet and stuff. And it wasn't real to us. Because we're watching it on a screen in the world. We don't have anything to do with this. A lot of things that's happening in the world really never affect us. But it turned out, that virus was in our block. And dude caught that, and he was dead. So as the lockdown progressed, we got to come out a little bit longer. So when the nurse came around, we're like, hey, man, I was just joking. I was like, oh, is there people dropping off, on this stuff, or is this bullshit? And, the nurse really couldn't tell me, like, exactly what was going on, but she's like, nah, there's been people. I said, how many? She goes, there's been people, and that's all she said. And I think maybe there was like 4 to 6 people that died during that time when we was in Florence. And that's when the reality really hit. Because, at this time, I only got a few more months before I'm eligible to go home. And I started getting concerned about, like, what kind of world am I going to? Because the way you see them reporting the news, reporting on the incident, was like the world was on fire. Everything was burning down. But, you know, to the backstory, the DC dude, you know, prior to us being locked down, they had this white kid in there that just came from an FCI. You know, he used to have long hair, used to run around without his shirt and stuff. And I remember I was in the cell, you know, with a couple other white dudes. And we were just sitting there smoking, kicking back and shit. And, you know, the dudes be sex playing. You know, sex playing, oh, I'm gonna put it in your butt. Oh, you look pretty and all this shit. We just fucking with the youngster. He's a youngster, you know. And so we're in the cell fucking with this dude, talking about how he's pretty and, you know, that we're gonna sell his ass and to somebody. We're gonna sell him to a DC dude, or, you know, the DC. You know, I'm not doing that to be disrespectful to the DC dude, but they have a reputation of, you know, of all the races, of all the cars and groups in the penitentiary, they have the reputation that they fuck around like that. So, you know, when we're fucking with somebody, teasing them or, you know, trying to scare them or whatever, we always say the DCs, right? So this kid, he gets scared while we're joking around. We're just joking around, you know. We don't know nothing. We're just joking around, talking about we're gonna sell him to this DC dude and this and that, right? He runs out of the freaking cell, runs right into the counselor's office, and checks in. We're like, what the fuck? Like, you know, he checks in. He tells the COs that, you know, I don't know what he tells them, but, you know, we're like, what the hell? And the CO comes over to our cell, to where we're kicking it at. And they're like, hey, man, what's going on with this dude? We're like, what are you talking about? He's in the counselor's office right now. Talking about, you know, he's in fear for his life. You know, we're all high. And we're like, huh? What? Man, I was like, man, I don't know nothing. I scoot out the cell, go about my business, right? Because I'm not white, so it ain't got nothing to do with me. You know, he's a white kid. And so I rolled out, and I don't even know what's going on. So I guess the counselor come back and tell the dude that was like the shot caller for the white boys that he was in fear for his life, that he thought he was gonna get raped, and all sorts of goofy stuff, right? We're like, what the fuck? So now they're all packing up. Now they got a couple white dudes packing up his property, and they're packing up his property and everything, and they find his kite. You know, a kite is a note. You know, we call it a kite. Don't know why. I mean, maybe because, you know, you send it down the way, like you flying a message down the way, but they call it a kite. So it's a note. And the kite was an interaction with the dude, you know, that had died later. I mean, later, you know. And the kite was like, hey, man, what's up? You know, I ain't never paid no $25 25 books for no jailhouse ass. So I guess this whole time since the DC dude came in there, the old man came in there, he's been eyeing this white kid. But the white kid was putting himself out there like subliminally. Like me, I'm so clueless. I don't know if you know, I don't really worry about if you with that or not. I don't pick up on the signals. But I guess the white kid know what he's doing. So, you know, he's an orderly. So sometimes when we're locked down, he gets to come out and clean the unit and stuff. And sometimes he come out without his shirt. And he's got like, his hair is about, you know, maybe down to his collar. It wasn't long. And I never seen him like dressed up or look like a girl or anything like that. But I guess they know what they're doing. They know how to, you know, send each other signals or whatever. So I guess the few times that he came out, you know, sweeping and mopping the tier without his shirt, and he ain't muscular or nothing. Now thinking back, looking at it, like, you know, he's built like real soft, you know, real slim, no muscle tone or nothing. And again, like looking back, I guess he had some feminine mannerism to him that I wasn't conscious of because I don't really try to pick up on those signals, you know. So, but I guess they end up trying to negotiating back and forth for a price, and the kite that we got, because they brought it to me. We were in the cell, and they're like, man, because we was fucking around with him and talking about we was gonna sell him to a DC dude, this and that, and it turned out that he was already in progress of selling himself to a DC dude. So I guess he thought that the white dudes knew about it and was gonna smash him, because one thing with the whites, they're not letting these homosexuals sit around. They're not letting these girly boys sit around. And the only time you'll see a white dude that's gay or whatever sit on a compound is because he's no longer riding with the white car. He done got himself, a daddy or whatever, however you want to call it, and he's riding with that car. And when they do that, the whites leave him alone, because I don't know really the intricate politics involved in that, because I've never been in that situation as far as like one of my people is riding with somebody else and this and that. But, the white boys, if they find out you fucking around, they're going to smash you. Especially if they find out you fucking around with another race. I don't know if they can let him stay if he's messing with another white dude, but, all that stuff is not acceptable within the white community. So I guess that kid had thought that, maybe some of the people found out about what he was in negotiation with and was going to smash him. But from that time we were sitting in the cell smoking, we were just fucking with him because, he came from an FCI. He's only been down a couple years, and, we just having some fun. We just fucking with him, trying to scare him or tease him or whatever. But I guess he was guilty of it, and he bust out the cell and went right into the freaking counselor's office and whatever. But the kite was like, from the response from the DC dude upstairs, he's like, hey man, he goes, I've been around a long time. I ain't never paid no $25 books for no jailhouse ass or whatever. So they were in negotiation for what was the acceptable price was. But these type of shit happens all the time in the penitentiary. When you're out on the West Coast, there's dudes up there that fuck around or whatever, but it's more low key. And you hear rumors about who's what's what, but it was never out in the open. But you get further out east, with the dudes from the East Coast, it's more acceptable, I guess. That's the word. I know in the state joint is wide open. The state joint, it don't matter if you're out here in the state joint out here in Utah or California or New York or wherever you want to go. That stuff is normal. But in the feds, it's kind of frowned upon, especially out on the West Coast prisons. But like again, when you get out further to the east, it's wide open. When I was in Beaumont, they had their own car. I'm talking about them punks, them girls. They had their own car. They had the Samoan dude named Jamie that ran their car. It's a big ass Samoan and fruity as a motherfucker, right? We played pool. And, in Beaumont they had pool tables. They had 3 pool tables. And me and my homies, after chow, after lunch or after dinner, we go out there and go shoot pool. And a couple, and sometimes when we're over there, they got these dudes over there shooting pool too. And they had this Samoan dude and this other black dude from like Carolina, but they were girls. And they be shooting pool, they were playing ahead of me, and I get the winner or whatever. And they're like, bitch, you're like, I don't really know how to do all that crazy shit, but they just went, it's just so off, especially coming from the Sole, because he's big, but then he's just like real feminine, and the way they speak, they try to sound like a girl, so the contrast is just baffling, but. But this episode is just like that shit hit home. That virus hit the penitentiary, and people was getting fucked up. They had a homie from Watts. called Full Force. When he came, he used to work out, whatever. He's about maybe 5'11", 6 feet tall, but he was yoked up. He was like 190. He ended up getting sick, and dude shrunk up to 145 and couldn't ever gain his weight back. And that's when I realized, man, that stuff was real. Since I've been home, I've caught it twice. When I came home, I was 160 solid, and then the 6 months I was home, I shot up to 180 eating mama's cooking. I shot up to 180, and then I got sick around March of last year, and I lost 30 pounds. And right now, I'm having a little trouble gaining my weight back or whatever. But I like this weight better anyway. I'm about 155 right now, but I never got my appetite back. I used to eat everything that was put in front of me. When I go to mom's house, my sister was saying something to my mom. She goes, "Oh, Mason eats really fast." Because, it's a bad habit. Because, when you go through the chow hall, especially with us, we got more people than we got tables. In Lompoc, we got 40 dudes and we had 2 tables. So you come through, you just eating and getting out the way so the next man can sit down. So I picked up a bad habit of just not breathing. When the food is put in front of me, I'm eating. But I was conscious of it when I came home. I'm like, all right, just slow everything down. Just take your time, have a conversation while you're having a meal and everything. But once the food is put in front of me, the first few bites, I'll take it slow and conscious to be able to, hold a conversation with other members of my family and just take my time. But then my habit kicks in, and next thing you know, my plate is empty and everybody else is just barely getting started. And I'm like, fuck it, give me a second, second serving. And I'm already on my second plate before people are even halfway through their first plate. So, coming home, having all the different taste buds and all that shit, it was tantalizing. I think that's the word, right? But, everybody, and I'm not just saying this, everybody always say that their mom cooks the best and all that. My mom really cooks the best. All the homies, when they come to the house, they're like, damn, your mom cook. And so everything she put in front of me, I was wolfing that shit down. And I got up to 180, and I was working out. So, I was 180 solid. But when I got sick in March, my appetite went away and I lost 30 pounds within a month. And I haven't been able to get that back. Now it's when I eat food, it doesn't taste the same, or I just get full a lot faster, or I can't eat till I can't breathe anymore like the way I used to, but while I was in there, I never got sick. I've been sick maybe 5 times my whole entire life. But before I came home, when the vaccine came out and stuff and people were supposed to take the shot and whatever, when I came home, I got charges put on me from back in '98. I fought that for a few months. Then they had an incident in my block where I ended up in a shoe under investigation of homicide, which I'll eventually get to, before my USP series is over with. And then when they let me go off of that, the halfway house denied me. So I couldn't come home the year earlier that I was supposed to. So when they offered everybody taking a vaccine and Biden was making all federal employees, mandating all federal employees to take it or whatever, I was like, man, I don't want another hurdle to have to go through, because I didn't want to be like, oh, they're not letting me out until I take the vaccine, or if I came home, I had to be put in quarantine before they were going to let me move around in the streets. Because, at that time, when people were going to New York or people going to New Jersey and certain states, if you were coming out of state, they made you quarantine yourself first before you can move around in their city, move around in their state. And I wasn't getting no halfway house. So I was coming straight to the street, but I didn't want to come to the street and then be stuck in the house for 14 days waiting to be quarantined or whatever other else stipulations they were going to put on you because I wasn't vaccinated. So I ended up taking the vaccine. And, you know, I can't speak for anybody else. I'm not here to be pro or against that. But since I've been home, I've been sick like 5-6 times. Like more, I've been sick the year that I've been home more times than I ever did in my whole entire life. And for me, I'm gonna blame it on the vaccine. Like, it fucked up my immune system. I haven't been healthy since I've been home and it's fucked up. But, you know, that shit is real. But I think they blew it out of proportion. I mean, there was people that was dropping like flies. Like, if you're young and you're healthy or whatever, it doesn't really affect you as much. But, you know, again, you know, being in the penitentiary, seeing that shit on TV, it spooked me. I'm gonna keep it real. That shit spooked me. Seeing all the empty cities, all the videos of all that these empty cities, LA, New York, Chicago, where, you know, any other time the footage be full of traffic and full of people, pedestrians walking up and down the walk. But seeing those empty cities, seeing them tents put up in New York, and all the bodies they were piling up in trucks, carrying to the crematory in Italy. Man, for me, it felt like it was Armageddon, like it was the end of the world. And now again, we got all these wars breaking out in the world. It's fucked up. I'm glad I'm home, but it's chaotic out here. Welcome to the USP.